parents said to send them $50,000 ASAP, but didn't say why. I came to them without warning and found out this money was for my spoiled sister's wedding, who always hated me. So I refused and my parents told me to send them $50,000 immediately. No reason, no explanation, just ASAP and a tone that made my stomach drop. I thought someone was sick. I thought I was about to lose my father. I didn't ask questions. I booked a flight and showed up at their house without warning. What I walked into wasn't an emergency at all. It was wedding plans spread across the table, laughter in the air, and my spoiled sister who's hated me my whole life showing off a ring bought with my fear. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about family. Before I keep going, hit like, tell me where you're listening from and share how you'd react if the people who raised you used your love like this. My name is Samantha, and growing up, I learned very early what my role in the family was. I was the one who noticed things, the one who stepped in before anyone asked. If something broke, I cleaned it. If someone was late, I waited. If a problem appeared, it somehow landed in my hands. On the outside, our family looked ordinary. A quiet suburban house, holiday dinners that smelled like roasted turkey and pin-scented candles, framed photos on the hallway wall updated every few years. But inside that house, there was a hierarchy everyone understood without ever saying out loud. My father believed in order. His word ended conversations. My mother believed in harmony, or at least the appearance of it. She smoothed things over reframed conflicts and quietly decided who needed to sacrifice so the house could stay calm. And then there was my younger sister, the center of gravity, the one everyone bent toward. I was 5 years older, which meant I became useful early. I walked her to school. I waited outside classrooms. I learned how to reheat leftovers and how to apologize even when I wasn't wrong. If she cried, it was an emergency. If I did, it was an attitude problem. I remember one afternoon in middle school when I missed an after-school art program because my sister didn't feel like walking home alone. Another time, a teacher praised my grades at a parent meeting and my mother smiled before changing the subject to my sister's dance recital. These weren't dramatic moments. They were quiet, repetitive, and that's what made them sink in. By the time I left for college, I already knew two things. First, nothing would ever be handed to me. Second, if I wanted a different life, I'd have to build it without help. I worked, studied, stayed invisible, and eventually moved to a bigger city where no one knew my family name. From the outside, it looked like distance. From the inside, it felt like relief. Still, no matter how far I went, that old instinct stayed with me. The one that said, if your parents ask, you show up. If they sound scared, you listen. If there's a crisis, you handle it. That instinct is exactly what brought me back home when they asked for that money. After that call, I didn't send the money right away. That alone was new for me. For years, when my parents asked, I reacted first and thought later. But this time, something felt off in a way I couldn't explain. I called my mother back and asked what happened. She didn't answer directly. She said my father was under a lot of stress. She mentioned bills, repairs, the same vague phrases she'd always used when she wanted me to stop asking questions. When I tried to get specifics, she sighed and said, "Do we really need to get into all that right now?" My father got on the phone next. His voice was firm, almost irritated. He said it was urgent and that I was overthinking it, that if I trusted them, I'd just help and we'd talk later. The call ended with him reminding me that family steps up when it matters. I sat there staring at my phone long after the screen went dark. On paper, everything sounded familiar, but the timing didn't. They hadn't called like this in years. Not since I'd moved away. Not since they realized I was doing well on my own. And they certainly hadn't asked for that kind of money before without at least giving me a story to go with it. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, my mind filled in the blanks for them. Hospital rooms, paperwork, a future where I hesitated too long and regretted it forever. By morning, I knew I couldn't just wire the money and hope for the best. So, I made a decision I'd never made before. I booked a flight. I didn't tell them I was coming. I told myself it was because I wanted to surprise them. The truth was I wanted to see things with my own eyes. I wanted to walk into that house and feel the atmosphere for myself. The flight felt longer than it was. I watched families in the terminal, overheard conversations about vacations and delayed luggage, and wondered how many of them had secrets waiting at home. By the time I picked up a rental car, my hands were tight on the steering wheel. As I pulled into my parents' neighborhood, I noticed something strange right away. Every light in the house was on. Not the harsh, panicked kind of light I'd imagined, but warm, inviting, like company had just arrived. I sat in the car for a moment, engine still running, listening to the hum and trying to calm my breathing. Whatever was happening inside that house, I was about to find out, and I already knew this trip was going to change more than just one conversation. I turned off the engine and sat there longer than I needed to. The house looked the same as it always had. Same porch light, same bushes trimmed into neat little shapes my mother liked. Nothing about it said emergency. When I finally walked up and let myself in, the first thing I noticed was the smell. Fresh coffee, sugar, something warm in the oven. Not antiseptic. Not fear. Not the quiet panic I'd been carrying across the country. My mother looked up from the kitchen island and froze for half a second before forcing a smile. "Samantha, you didn't say you were coming." "I wanted to make sure everything was okay," I said. She exchanged a glance with my father. It was quick, practiced, the kind of look people share when they're already aligned. My father was sitting comfortably in his chair, flipping through a magazine like it was any other afternoon. "I thought you said this was urgent," I said, keeping my voice even. "It is," my mother replied too quickly. "Just not the way you're imagining." That's when I saw them stacked neatly at the end of the table. Glossy envelopes, color samples, a thick binder filled with tabs. I didn't need to open it to know what it was. My chest tightened as the picture started to come together. My sister walked in a moment later, phone in hand, glowing in a way that had nothing to do with concern. She stopped when she saw me, then smiled like this was a coincidence she hadn't planned for. "You're here early," she said. I followed her gaze down to her hand. The ring caught the light from the ceiling fixture, sharp and unapologetic. It looked heavy, expensive, completely out of place next to the story I'd been told. I didn't say anything at first. I just stood there listening to the house hum, the refrigerator, the oven timer, the normal sounds of a family that wasn't in crisis. My mother started talking. She explained how stressful planning had been, how expensive everything was these days, how lucky my sister was to have found someone who loved her. My father nodded along, arms crossed, waiting for me to catch up. That's when it hit me. Not like anger, like clarity. They hadn't called me because they were scared. They'd called because they knew I would come, because I always had, because for years, I'd been the solution they reached for when something needed to be handled quietly. I felt something shift inside my chest. A familiar instinct tried to surface, telling me to stay calm, to smooth things over, to help. But another voice pushed back this time, steadier and stronger. I hadn't been brought home out of love. I'd been summoned like a resource. And standing there in that kitchen staring at wedding plans built on my fear, I knew I was done reacting. Whatever happened next would be a choice, not a reflex. I finally broke the silence. So I said, nodding toward the binder, "This is the emergency." My mother hesitated, then sighed like I was the one making things difficult. "We didn't want to worry you. Planning a wedding is stressful, and your sister has been overwhelmed." Overwhelmed. I looked at my sister again. She was leaning against the counter, scrolling through her phone, completely relaxed. When she noticed me watching, she lifted her hand slightly, letting the ring catch the light again. "Isn't it beautiful?" she said. "He really went all out." I didn't answer her. I turned back to my parents. "You asked me for $50,000. You said it couldn't wait. You didn't tell me why." My father cleared his throat. "We didn't think details mattered. You're doing well. You can afford it." There it was. Not a request, an assumption. For what? I asked for flowers, for a venue, for a dress. My mother's smile tightened. "Don't be dramatic." "I'm not," I said quietly. "I flew across the country because I thought someone was in danger." My sister rolled her eyes. "You're always like this, making everything about you." That sentence did something to me. It unlocked a door I'd kept closed for years. "I didn't make this about me," I said. "You did when you lied." She laughed short and sharp. "Lied? Mom said you'd help. You always help." I looked at my mother. She didn't deny it. "How long?" I asked. "How long have you been planning to ask me for this?" My father shifted in his chair. "That's not important. It is to me." My mother finally spoke up. "We knew if we explained it, you'd overthink it. We needed you to act. Act like always." I took a slow breath. "And the money I've been sending every month." They both froze. "What about it?" My father said. "You said it was for medical bills, for repairs. That things were tight." I gestured around the room. "Nothing here looks tight." My sister scoffed. "That's different." "How?" I asked her. She straightened. "That money was family support. This is my wedding." I actually laughed then. It surprised all of us. "So, let me get this straight. I helped pay your bills and now I'm supposed to pay for a wedding too?" My mother stepped closer, lowering her voice like she used to when I was a teenager. "Samantha, please. We raised you. We gave you everything." "No, I said you gave me responsibility. There's a difference." My father stood up. "Enough. This isn't a debate. We're telling you what we need." That word again. Need. I pulled out my phone. Not aggressively, just calmly. "I've kept track," I said. "Every payment, every transfer, it adds up to a lot more than 50,000. My mother's face went pale. "Why would you do that?" "Because I stopped trusting vague answers." My sister crossed her arms. "You're really doing this now?" "Yes," I said. "I am." I scrolled through photos, not showing them yet. Funny thing is, while you were telling me you were struggling, you were posting pictures. Expensive dinners, shopping bags, weekend trips. My sister's eyes widened. You were stalking me? I was noticing, I said. There's a difference. She looked to my parents for backup. Tell her she's being ridiculous. My father's voice hardened. You're crossing a line. No, I said. I finally see it. I turned to my sister. Do you have any idea how many things I gave up so you wouldn't be inconvenienced? She shrugged. That's what older sisters do. Something inside me went cold. Not angry, clear. Then listen carefully, I said. I'm not doing it anymore. My mother gasped. You don't mean that. I do. I'm not sending the money. My sister's face twisted. You can't just decide that. I can, and I am. My father slammed his hand on the table. After everything we've done for you. I met his eyes. You mean after spending the college fund on her? Silence fell heavy? My mother whispered. That was for the family. For her? I corrected. My sister exploded. You're selfish. You have a great job, a nice life. What's $50,000 to you? It's the cost of my peace, I said. And I'm done paying it. She started crying then, loud and dramatic. You're ruining my wedding. I didn't flinch. I didn't plan it. I didn't promise anything. My mother reached for my arm. I stepped back. We need that money, she said. We already told people. That sounds like a you problem, I replied. My father pointed at the door. If you walk away from this, don't expect us to forgive you. I nodded. That's fine. My sister screamed. You're heartless. I shook my head. No. I just stopped letting you use my heart against me. I grabbed my bag. My hands were steady. That surprised me most of all. This ends now, I said. No more payments, no more emergencies, no more guilt. My mother sobbed. My father stared at the floor. My sister stood frozen like she'd never imagined a world where I said no. At the door, I turned back one last time. I didn't come here to fight. I came because I was scared for you. Remember that? No one answered. I walked out into the cold air. My chest light in a way it had never been before. The house behind me was loud with voices, but they sounded distant now, like something I'd already left behind. The messages started before I reached the end of the driveway. At first, they came from my mother. Long emotional paragraphs about family sacrifice and how disappointed she was that I'd embarrassed them. Then my father followed with shorter ones, colder, reminding me of everything they'd done for me and how ungrateful I was being. My sister's messages came last, angry, accusatory. She said I'd ruined her future, that I'd taken something she deserved. I didn't reply to any of them. The next morning, I canceled the recurring payments. It took less than a minute. No speeches, no drama, just a quiet confirmation on my screen. I felt a flicker of guilt, the old reflex trying to pull me back in, but it passed faster than I expected. Word spread quickly through the family. An ad called Carefully Neutral, asking what really happened. A cousin texted to say he'd heard things didn't go as planned. I told the truth when asked calmly without exaggeration. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just explained. That seemed to matter more than I thought it would. The wedding changed. The venue was downgraded. The guest list shrank. The tone shifted from celebration to quiet damage control. No one said my name out loud, but I felt it in the pauses. Back in my own city, my life kept moving. Work deadlines, morning coffee, evenings that belonged to me. The silence from my family was strange at first, like a missing noise you only notice when it's gone. Then it became peaceful. One night, sitting on my couch with the window cracked open, I realized something important. I wasn't waiting for my phone to buzz anymore. I wasn't bracing for the next demand disguised as love. For the first time, my life felt honest. I didn't win anything tangible. No apologies, no acknowledgement, but I gained something far more valuable. I chose myself, and I didn't lose my family that day. I just stopped letting them take me with them. I used to believe family meant endurance. That love meant staying quiet and paying the price. I know better now. Real love doesn't drain you. It doesn't threaten you with guilt when you finally say no. Walking away wasn't cruel. It was honest. And honesty gave me my life back. If this story hit close to home, you're not alone. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you're listening from and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next story.